Hello, everyone. Welcome to Couch Potato Theater here on the Fandom Podcast Network. We celebrate our favorite movies. My name is Kevin. I'm going to be your host, and we are going to be celebrating, as of this recording, the 20th anniversary of Sahara 2005. Looking forward to that. We got a lot to cover on this here on the Fandom Podcast Network, Couch Potato Theater. And by the way, check out our QR code if you're watching us here on YouTube. Give us a little scan there on your phone. Take us to our website. Support us there. And just a little advisory here. There might be some adult content. So I want to give you guys on maybe some language, stuff like that. So anyway, this is Sahara. And I'd like to introduce my co-host for this special edition here of Couch Potato Theater, because we are celebrating the 20th anniversary of a very, very fun movie. And with me, as always, is my co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network. Let's welcome Mr. Kyle Wagner. What's going on, brother?
Well, you have been podcasting with me since kindergarten. I know you've always lived in my shadow, but, I'm glad you're here. Truthfully, this is going to be a very fun and interesting podcast because we're going to be talking about a movie that really should have been bigger and led to a franchise, but because of a lot of background and legal issues and stuff, really never got the chance to be what it should have been. But it is a very fun movie, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But we can't continue, of course, without the queen of movie food. Please welcome Lacey Pants. What's up, Lacey?
Hi. Hello. I'm very excited. Yay.
You got your otter hat on, all right?
I do. It's very exciting.
So it's been a while. We've been a little busy with stuff, but it's good to get the trio back here and let people know, too. We got some more Time Warp 1990 coming out here. But we wanted to hang out and talk about one of our favorite movies here, and that is, of course, Sahara 2005. We're holding up our Blu-rays here. And what's interesting, too, is, Lacey, since you turned me on to the double disc Blu-ray thing, over here I have my original DVD that I have,
Nice.
But guess what? I took a DVD out of that so I can have the DVD Blu-ray combo, and I have the DVD actually playing in my player right now as we are recording. So
nice.
That's what I got going. I see you did the same.
Yep.
Love that. Kyle, where's your Blu-ray DVD disc combo? Where is it, man?
My high definition Blu-ray version is sitting on my Apple TV in my digital library and my very safe lockdown cloud server. Thank you.
All right, very cool. We'll get to that in a little bit here, but we want to first of all celebrate Sahara, guys. We're really excited about this, and this is one of those movies I know that did get a lot of play from time to time on your movie channels and such. And I too, when I would do like my rounds around, the second chance stores and thrift stores and stuff, you'd always find a copy of Sahara around. But we did want to let you guys know before we get into Sahara of what has been happening on Couch Potato Theater and what's coming soon. Of course, just at the end of last year, we covered the 40th anniversary of Terminator 1984. We also did Aliens 1986 and talked about Aliens Expanded 2024 documentary. All 4 plus 5 plus 6 hours of it. We discussed that. It was great.
Also known as a Tuesday evening for me.
Yeah, Tuesday evening for the queen of movie poo. We also celebrated the 40th anniversary of Johnny Dangerously, 1984. And we also had Lacey's pick for the Christmas movie, Long Kiss Goodnight from 1996. And also we did a instant Couch Potato Theater for Deadpool and Wolverine. Make sure you guys check that out. And Lacey also got to choose the Valentine's Day pick, and we did our Couch Potato Theater of Commando 1985, and also discuss the director's cut of that. And we've also been doing this fun here. Norm, one of our, of course, original co-founders of the Fandom Podcast Network, said, "Hey, man, I got to do a couple podcasts with you. Let's do Couch Potato Theater, but let's change it up a little bit." So what we decided to do is revisit some films that maybe we didn't like at first, or a lot of people in social media and fans, and then we kind of came around on them again, maybe changed our minds. And the new Couch Potato Theater called Be Kind and Rewind. And the first one we did was Green Lantern. We just recorded John Carter. That's going to be coming out soon. And then coming up later, another pick from Norman is Be Kind Rewind, the A-Team 2010. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. And coming soon, we're going to start our celebration of looking at the 1980s canon film retrospective. We got several films we're going to touch on. And the first one we're going to be doing is American Ninja 1 and 2. A little double feature there for you guys. And a special request last year by our good friend Jennifer Walk, who's also was at my wedding that Aaron and I were at in Las Vegas. She had a request. She's like, hey, guys, it's celebrating its 40th anniversary next year. That's this year now. Just one of the guys. Lacey, I know you want in on that one, right?
Yes, I was actually looking because I just got the Blu-ray. And
so did I.
It's in like a stack right here somewhere. And I was like, I know it's right here somewhere. I was going to be like, whoosh, but yeah, I don't have it.
Yeah, I'm going to talk more about that later with my wife just watched that movie for the first time. So interesting discussion. So stay tuned. But we are discussing Sahara. Let's go ahead and get into a little bit of Sahara. All right, guys. This time it's movie time for Sahara. Let's do let's open up things with the IMDb, possibly vague and not always spot on plot description. And what we have here for IMDb is Master explorer Dirk Pitt goes on the adventure of a lifetime of seeking out a lost Civil War battleship known as the Ship of Death in the deserts of West Africa while helping a World Health Organization doctor being hounded by a ruthless dictator. It sounds pretty spot on, guys. What do you think?
I don't know if it was dictator. I mean, he did put the war back into warlord.
He did. This is true. Yes. So release date, the Hollywood release was on April 4th, 2005. And then nationwide here in the States was April 8th, 2005. So as of this recording, it is April. So it is celebrating its 20th anniversary. Had a running time of about 124 minutes, a little over 2 hours, a budget of 160 million, but a box office of only 119 million. So I want to ask you guys, Lacey, I got to start with you here first. How did you watch it originally and your first reactions when you did, and how did you watch it recently?
In the movie theater, first of all, love Matthew McConaughey, love any sort of super fun action adventure kind of deal. I hadn't read any of the Dirk Pitt books, but I was working in an audiobook store at the time, and so we had like a ton of them. So when I realized that they were connected, I got the book as well and did a little bit of ear.
So you've listened to the audiobook version of this story,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love Dirk Pitt. I love the character. I love all the fun things about him. And I watched it in the theater the first time. I think I watched it probably 3 or 4 times in the movie in the theater. And then recently the other night I watched the Blu-ray. I watched the DVD and the Blu-ray because there's 2 commentaries. So I decided to, do that because I'm a weirdo, and that's okay.
That's why we love you, because we get that. So yeah, keep it up.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
All right, Kyle. What about you? Where did you watch it originally, and maybe first impressions, and how'd you watch it recently?
Well, I watched originally in the theater because I really felt like it was going to give me kind of the Indiana Jones fix that I was kind of buzzing for. The kind of treasure hunter, antiquities adventurer. I like McConaughey. I'm a big Steve Zahn fan. So I saw the trailers and I was in on this. And recently I just watched it digitally in my iTunes movie collection. This is the Blu-ray high definition. I think I might have both commentaries on the iTunes extras. I got to double check that, Lacey. But no, I love this. I love this movie. I thought it was just incredibly fun. It's a great cast and a great soundtrack, and it was a movie. It was one of those things where you just go and it's a movie experience, and it's a movie and you just have fun with it. You get lost in it and you walk out with a smile on your face. That's what this movie was.
I saw it in the theater originally as well. I believe I saw it more than once. I think I might have also been on the road working for that game company Decipher, and I'd probably, wherever I was on the road, I went and watched it again. I know I saw it more than once for sure. And then kept it on DVD for the longest time till I recently upgraded to Blu-ray. And that's how I watched it recently, was on Blu-ray, and I actually have the DVD playing now, thanks to Lacey's idea of doing the little double Blu-ray DVD thing, combining them. I like that. So, so it's nice to do that. And what's funny too is my wife is a fan of Steve Zahn. And we watched the 2001 film Joyride, which was the horror film with Paul Walker. Yeah, Lily Sobieski, and I had never seen it before, and he was very funny in that as well. And that's the one where they they're messing with the CB radio, and they mess with the wrong guy, and they pretend to be a girl, they pretend to be Candy Cane, and he's Rusty Nail, and voiced by Ted Levine, of course, Buffalo Bill. If you guys don't know Silence of the Lambs, so
anyway, is Buffalo Bill.
What's that? Known as the captain in Monk.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So, so I did a little double feature. Again, I watched that for the first time, and then my wife and I watched Sahara on there as well. So, yeah, Lacey, yes, what you got?
I did a double feature too. I watched him in Happy Texas, which is one of the funniest movies ever made.
Okay, what's really funny you said that is my wife said she loves that movie and was asked if I'd seen it. I said, no, I have not seen it. So I got to watch it. She said she literally said that yesterday.
So good. So good.
Yeah, I gotta
his performance in that is reminiscent of Robin Williams in The Birdcage.
That's saying a lot.
Like, it is. Yeah, he's so good.
So as you mentioned, Lacey, this what's interesting too is after I know I watched this last year, and in one of the thrift stores I found a Clive Cussler book on audio. It was the Valhalla Rising, and I was not familiar with any of the books. And the only thing I was familiar with was this movie. But I believe, and we'll touch on a little bit later, but I believe there's around 27 total Dirk Pitt adventures. And Valhalla Rising was an interesting one. I enjoyed that, actually. But this 2000 film, Sahara, was based on the 1992 novel of the same name by Clive Cussler, a Dirk Pitt adventure. While the film was intended to be the first in a franchise, poor box office performance stalled plans for a sequel. We'll get into that a little bit later here, guys. But as you can see, I have a couple different, if you're watching the YouTube video, I have obviously the Sahara movie poster next to a different couple different covers of Sahara. You got one with the downed plane, which was a scene that was actually cut from the film, and the Sahara version with the old car on the front as well, out in the middle of the desert. So, yeah. So, guys, I want to talk about an article that I found here. And usually when we do these films, I try to find a recent article. And I found one from 2010. So it's not a recent one, but it does kind of talk more recently about what happened with Sahara. So Sahara, looking back at, it's like 10 years apart, basically. So it's right there in the middle. So Sahara, looking back at a lost action franchise, 2005 Sahara was an epic flop, but it's not. T. Argus, a film without merit. Here's our look back at the action franchise that could have been. It is reported that Cussler was difficult when it came up with approving the various scripts and disapproved of more ridiculous elements in his book being removed. Abraham Lincoln's body is found on the Ironclad in the Sahara, for example. Wow. Paramount refused to wait for him to sign off on the script and made the film without his approval. Cussler, as you can imagine, was not happy and took the studio to court, resulting in one of Hollywood's biggest lawsuits. Neither partly really won, and details of the case, if you are interested, found elsewhere on the internet. Lawsuits and the box office receipts aside, I do enjoy Sahara. And by the way, I do want to give credit to the person that wrote this. This is by T. Singh, November 22nd, 2010. So at the time, first-time director Breck Eisner, he also directed The Crazies, got a lot of stick for receiving a $150 million budget for his debut film. And a lot of this was attributed to his father being Michael Eisner, former head of Disney. Of course, the film was meant to be one of Paramount's tentpole releases, so that you could argue that the budget was needed for all of the exotic locations, as well as the boat chases, car chases, and helicopter chases. The only problem is you don't exactly see all the money on the big screen. Yes, it's action-packed, but Sahara certainly doesn't look as lavish as the budget might suggest. And the lawsuit between Cussler and Paramount also revealed a few other interesting details, including the allegation of the film's budget had doubled due to the vanity of its stars, Matthew McConaughey and Penélope Cruz. In legal documents released as part of the bitter court battle, it was revealed that $420,000 was spent on the movie's leading actors, including $105,000 on bottled water and $54,000 on facial disease specialist, in quotations. So I'm just going to start there, guys. Obviously, a lot of the big problem here is maybe obviously some overspending, but Clive Cussler was not on board with a lot of this. I'm trying to understand Kyle. I don't know if he's a difficult person to deal with. Obviously, he wanted certain things put on there. Having the body of a former president found does seem kind of weird and far-fetched to put into a movie like this. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
So I've done a little bit of research for this on my own because I always was very frustrated with how this movie never really got off the ground like it should have, because I enjoyed it so much. Cussler has been difficult for Hollywood to deal with a lot. He's very much, I wanted to be just like my book, just like my book, just like my book. But Cussler's books, and I've checked out a couple of them, he gets a little out there with his ideas, like Finding Abraham Lincoln's Body. And it's a little bit too out there and takes you out of the story. So I think Hollywood was just tired of waiting for this guy to make up his mind and play difficult, and they went forward. But there's a lot of elements with this. You talked about Eisner being a first-time director, and yeah, there was a lot of nepotism people against him with the budget he got on this, even though this was planned to be a major tentpole franchise going forward. McConaughey got a ton of money. Penelope Cruz got paid all right. Zahn got paid real well. Yeah, and you know what? They were a little bit of a divas on the set, but there was a lot of other background stuff going on as far as paying outs to governments, things like that just made this. Nobody was paying attention to how much money was being spent, basically. And so it ballooned it up. The marketing for this movie was terrible. I'm going to just say that right now. I don't think it was fairly marketed at all.
I think I saw a trailer in the theater that looked fun, but yeah, I don't remember much promotion on this.
And the other problem is, and I know you'll get to it a little bit later, but Cussler wasn't exactly truthful about some things with his books and their sales numbers. And so I don't think Disney was quite getting and Paramount were quite getting the franchise they thought they were getting either. So there's a lot of different pieces to this puzzle, and it's a shame because it really turned a lot of people off on this movie, because this was a time too where people were very much, if it's just outside of the book, I'm not going to even give it a chance. And this was really outside of the book. And if they would have just seen it as just the movie that it was, I think this would have been received a lot better.
Yeah, and Lacey, I don't think we were familiar with the book at the time. You had listened to the audiobook, but what are your thoughts on these, the squabbles with Clive and the over budget and spending of things? I mean, you've worked in the industry before. I'm sure you've heard of stuff being overspent on things.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I don't have anything to say about Clive Cussler and his things, because I know that there's so many details when it comes to signing those kind of contracts and stuff like that. And signing on the rights is one thing, and signing on like approval, actor, like whether you have director's approval or script approval for the for the author, or there's so many little bits and bobs that go on with that. You can't really talk about, because there's so much that goes on with that. As far as the over budget thing, they, in the commentaries, there's one by Breck Eisner by himself. There's one by him with Matthew McConaughey as producer. And this was one of McConaughey's first producing gigs. The one thing that they did very clearly discuss was that the reason the budget went up for Penelope Cruz is because Matthew McConaughey insisted that she be paid as much as him, because he is very clear on the fact that females should be paid just as much as the men.
Right.
So that was the thing. And it wasn't disputed. It was just like, hey guys, we're not going to do this if she's not getting paid the same amount.
Right.
So I feel like that's something they'd probably use some clickbaity stuff on that to make it seem like, maybe she was, demanding or something, but that's not the case at all. Wow. So also, they lived in the desert on site for 6 weeks. There were no hotels. There was no Winnebago for Mr. Matthew McConaughey. They lived in tents. and they had bottled water flown in because there was no water.
Right.
This is not something where, like, that is, again, it's one of those things where they're talking on the commentary saying, like, all of a sudden we realized that there was no way we're going to be able to get back and forth to set every day and still manage to stay under budget. So it was either fly an hour in on how
right, yeah,
or just like bank out in the desert and have water and supplies flown in.
One of the other things too that was mentioned in an article in 2007 was, in brief, Cussler accuses Sahara producers of bribery. Bribes of more than $237,000 helped swell the budget of the 2000 film Sahara to more than $160 million, according to papers filed in a court claim by the author of the book upon which it was based. The funds included 16 courtesy payments in, quote, finger quotes there, gratuities, and local bribes paid to people in positions of power on location in Morocco. Novelist Clive Cussler is suing the movie's production company, Crusader Entertainment, claiming it reneged on a contract giving him creative control over the film. Crusader has countersued. Sahara starred Matthew McConaughey, who was paid $8 million for his role, and Penélope Cruz, who received $1.6 million, according to the papers. I'm wondering if that changed later. Also, over Sahara in 2013, squabble over Sahara flop comes to an end. And it goes more into, what went what. But it looks like when it comes down to it, when I'm reading past the article here, is that a California appeals court finally called the dispute between Cussler and Bristol Bay a draw in late 2012. So, it's interesting. Whatever relationships that Cussler had with the movie and maybe even the stars, I don't know. It didn't look like seeing a sequel was going to happen. We'll touch more on that a little bit later. But I did. Oh yeah, Lacey.
Sorry, I should have clarified. Penelope Cruz and Steve Zahn, I think, made the same amount. I think Matthew
Gotcha.
was the main draw, but also they do talk about the payoffs that they had to do in the like the small towns and stuff. Where they literally had to buy all of people's possessions to take those possessions back to the studio in London. They bought like the contents of like 3 different houses. They bought,
you know what?
Yeah,
this has been going on for
this
years,
is not
though.
unusual. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean,
all the time.
I think it's been put into budgets now. It's like, hey, look, here's $500,000. If you need to grease the wheels and get past these permits and stuff like that. I mean, Kyle, we've seen this. We've talked about this in other podcasts.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with some of these certain foreign countries, you've got to do that. But and I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I think this is a key point because Bristol Bay Productions countersued, claiming that Cussler has pegged book sales of Sahara at 100 million when the figure was much closer to 40 million as far as the book sales go. And they said the lie cost about $50 million as far as what the payout was. So there's another 50 million on the budget that really probably shouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Also, when it comes down to it, the most of the money paid out as far as bribes. I mean, when you're working on a film in New York, if there's a guy playing his music on the corner, you go and you give him $100 and tell him to please turn off his music. And if you have to shoot there the next day, that same guy is going to have his music on and you're going to have to go to him again the next day because he knows. And by that time, his 3 neighbors also know that if they're clanging pans on the balcony or, whatever, they're going to get paid off as well. So I don't think I've ever heard of a $500,000 budget for that, but budget for it at this point. Yeah.
Well, let's get into some of the movie reviews here on Rotten Tomatoes. The film has an approval rating of 37%. Website critics consensus reads a mindless adventure flick with a preposterous plot. Audience polls on Cinema Score gave an average grade of a B+ out of an A to an F. And Roger Ebert says, quote, sizzling sands scorch silly Sahara. He says, I enjoyed the movie on its own dumb level, but which means I am forced to conclude in my own dumb way. I perceive that I have supplied mostly a description of what happens in the film, filtered through my own skewed amusement. Does that make this a real review? Roger, were you on something when you wrote that? It's kind of double talky there. I don't know. That was just weird. So I don't know if Lacey, have you scored this on Letterboxd? Because I have. And the current Letterboxd rating as we go to is hovering around a 2.7 on Letterboxd. I've given it a 5. I love this movie, and it's a 5 for me for reasons that we will discuss. But Lacey, do you have yours up? Do you know what you gave it?
I'm actually looking it up right now because this is a brand new computer and I don't have any of my settings up yet, so I haven't passworded and any kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, look.
Yeah, while Lacey's looking, I'll interject. I haven't put this on Letterboxd yet. I'm going to, but I'm going to put it as a 4. It's a great movie. There's a few little logic leaps in here that I understand what Roger Ebert is talking about a little bit, but I can throw those aside because, again, I come out of this movie every time with a smile on my face and entertained. What more can you ask for from a movie?
Yeah,
I have it on my. I have not done it on Letterboxd yet, but on my CLZ, I have it as a 9 out of 10. So
nice.
I'll end up with a 4.5 out of 5. If I can't remember, does Letterboxd do half points?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's currently on there as I don't know, it's a 2.7 right now is what it says. So, But all right, well, guys, let's get into some trivia here, and if you would like to help me out, I would appreciate that. I'll start off here first. Number 1, a full-scale model of the Texas was built for the film. After the 1865 sequence was filmed, it was dismantled and reassembled in Morocco. Lacey, do you have your notes up at all yet? Do you know?
I don't. I couldn't get in because I don't know the password that I used.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll
later today.
We'll take care of that there later. We'll get Kyle in here in a moment here. 2, Matthew McConaughey was paid $8 million for this movie, and while Steve Zahn made 2.3 million, and Penelope Cruz made 1.6 million. I don't know if that changed later or what, but that's what the IMDb trivia is telling us here.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, the cast had camel riding lessons during which they would have to ride the camel at full gallop for 90 minutes alongside a moving train. That's an hour and a half. The camel wrangler, only one person able to jump from a camel onto the moving train, doubled for all of the actors. The next bit of trivia you have here is because of the footprints left in the sand, many of the desert shots had to be done in one take. I was noticing that when they were handcuffed to that inside of the truck bed pan thing or whatever it was. Yep. Like they were walking along going, yeah, that's one take right there. So yeah. Number 5, Matthew McConaughey did many of his own stunts during the boat chase, according to Breck Eisner. He would have done every stunt in the movie if the insurance company had let him. Kyle, you got notes in front of you there?
Yeah. Number 6, Clive Cussler had written his own script, but clashed bitterly with every professional screenwriter brought in to polish or rework it. Deriding them as hacks, the feeling was apparently mutual. This is what Clive Cussler, not easy to deal with. He wants it his way and no way else.
It's either his way or the highway. I'm sorry, but you gotta be able to be flexible. And there's certain things that translate well to film, and some things that do not translate well to film. And he should be understanding of that.
Well, let's face it, a film. I mean, this film is 2 hours and 4 minutes long. The book is like 900 pages. He does not write like 300-page super short little books. He writes honkers, like big old chunky books. Yeah. You cannot do this. Is not, the Deathly Hallows. You can't split. This is not The Hobbit. You can't split it into 3 parts. It's just not going to work.
I know on Instagram there's a really funny page to follow called Chunky Pets, and if there was a Instagram thing that said Chunky Books, his name would be in there. So yeah,
nice.
Number 7, Matthew McConaughey and Penelope Cruz started dating after they met on set. The relationship lasted a little over a year. Kyle, hit us up with number 8 there.
Yeah, in 2007, the film's 151-page line item budget entered as evidence in a lawsuit and supposedly confidential was leaked to the Los Angeles Times. Sure it was. Somebody put that out intentionally. The documents show that the production benefited from cheap Moroccan labor and European tax credits, but spent a huge amount of money on a plane crash that was cut and paid Penelope Cruz's hairstylist and dialect coach over $250,000. It also included payments explicitly labeled as bribes to Moroccan officials, some of which may have violated the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act.
Oh, yeah, I guess there is that there. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Yeah, okay. All right, guys. So that is it for the trivia. What do you say we get into some of our favorite scenes and or quotes here? And Lacey, we got a lot. I'll go ahead and just show some scenes here on the slideshow. But what were some of your favorite scenes in Sahara?
I gotta tell you, William H. Macy, I think he stole every scene he was in. The shot where the scene where he's on the phone while they're pulling a Panama, and he's on the phone and he's like, "Wait, are you, what?" And then he hangs up the phone. And he goes, "They pulled a Panama."
Yeah.
So great. And then the scene where he's come in and he doesn't realize that Rainn Wilson is on the couch, and he's sitting there and he's on the computer. He's like sniffing, sniffing his armpit. He's like, "What is that smell?" And then he kind of like, "Wow," and he realizes it again, and he finally turns around and he sees Rainn Wilson. He's like, "Ah." And then the very end where he's talking to the stuffed shirt guy, who's like, "Oh, I heard they found a lot of gold," and he was like, "No, I can assure you, there's no gold on that ship that belongs to the American government." Not a lie. That was
so. You like all the William H. Macy scenes then? Okay.
Oh yeah, he was great. And then also, anytime Steve Zahn said, "I lost my hat," is just hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just got to mention too, speaking of Steve Zahn, when Dirk Pitt tells everyone to get out of the car and drop your guns, and he just keeps dropping guns and magazines, and there's that funny look when he looks over at him and he goes, "What?"
Yep.
Kyle, what's some of your favorite scenes of Sahara?
That the thing about this is the pacing of this movie is so quick. You've got so many great scenes. I love it when they take the plane and make it kind of a desert sail.
Yeah, like a catamaran thing going on. Yeah,
catamaran. I love everything on the speedboat. And when they pull the Panama, it's great. But the truth of it is, all the scenes are great. But what makes this movie so much fun for me is the chemistry between the cast, and I know we'll talk about that a little bit later. But all of this cast just clicks perfectly. There are times when I think Steve Zahn and William H. Macy steal this movie from everybody else on screen. I actually think they're better in it than McConaughey and Cruz. I think I'm just as entertained by them. Steve Zahn. I think Steve Zahn might be my favorite Steve Zahn movie, and I'm like a lot of Steve Zahn films.
That's a good call. Lacey, got something?
Well, yeah, and I love the fact that because Steve Zahn is normally used for comic relief because he's so good. He's a great improv. Like a lot of the commentary talks about how he improv this or that or these lines or whatever. But he's also a badass. Like this guy can roll out of a tank and sniper and all. I mean, he's really good at what he does. And
he's good. He's good at shooting and stuff.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. I mean, he's an expert marksman. He's the one who's got the guts to say, "I'm gonna go outside," and he jumps on the outside where people are live shooting, and he's yanking on the cord and all this kind of stuff, trying to get the thing open. He's ginormous cojones on this guy. Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, I just want to add one more favorite scene because it's towards the end. It's when one of the bad guys gets his own comeuppance with Delroy Lindo's character, making sure he gets served a certain glass of water.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah. Eves gets a little taste of his own water there. Yeah, I love the boat chase. The boat chase is great. And I love the lead up to the boat chase too, where he's taking the boat and they stop off and they get gas and they hang out. All those scenes on the boat are great, and the lead up to the Panama is obviously good too. I love the camel scenes too, especially when you see that one guard on the back of the train. He sees one camel hanging out by itself, and he's like, "Okay, that's weird." And he sees a second one, and they're all trying to jump on top of the train before they get spotted. That was great. I gotta say too, the other thing that's really cool about this movie is how it opens up with the opening credits, and it's inside the Numa boat, and it shows all the old pictures of Al and Dirk together and all the stuff they're working on, Kyle,
Well, and what makes that opening sequence so great, and this is something I know we'll talk again later, but I just got to at least bring it up so it's in the thought process now. The music choices for this movie are so good and so well timed.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that definitely. I just want to mention if you guys have any favorite quotes, and my favorite is when Dirk and Al are at the bar outside. And Dirk goes, "I'll meet you at the boat." And he slaps him on the arm and he leaves the bar. And Al's there going, like he's acting that, Dirk is still, he goes, "Al, no, I got the check. Don't worry about it. I'm serious. I know. I'll get the time. I'll sit down. I'll get the check." That was so funny.
I just got to throw for me anything where they're talking about the Panama.
Yeah.
Whether it's when they're on the boat and they're like, "What do you think, Dirk? I think we need to pull Panama," and yet a Panama, and then you hear Sandecker go, "A Panama? No Panama!" And then when they explain it to Rainn Wilson's character, Rudy, before they do it, and it's so great.
He's like,
and,
wait a minute, it was in Nicaragua. Why did you call it Panama? Because we thought we were Panama.
But the best line on that is the tag where they were like, he was like, "Wow, did it happen this way the last time?" He's like, "Last time it didn't work."
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too is when they're escaping the plant and Al gets the explosives and they're in the car and Dirk goes, "Al, did you bring the explosives from the Maserads?" And Al goes, "I couldn't find them." "Al, I didn't have time." "Al, of course I brought the explosives." So funny.
guys, I'm just gonna say it. I'm so tired of being shot at.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the cast and crew, guys. This is going to be interesting here. So we'll start off with our director here, of course. This is Breck Eisner, first-time movie director, apparently, as we learned from the trivia and such. And, of course, we have Matthew McConaughey as Dirk Pitt, Steve Zahn as Al Giordino, Penelope Cruz as Eve Rojas. We have Lambert Wilson as Yves Massard, Rainn Wilson as Rudy Gunn, Lenny James as General Kazim, Robert Cavanaugh as Captain Toombs, Patrick Malahide as Ambassador Polidori, and it just goes on. We got Delroy Lindo as Carl as well. Of course, William H. Macy as Admiral Sandecker here, guys. And we got some wonderful pictures to follow these as well. Kyle, give me your thoughts on the cast. You got any favorites here?
From top to bottom, this cast is phenomenal. There's so many people I love in this cast. I mean, from McConaughey to Steve Zahn to William H. Macy, Rainn Wilson. I'm a big Lenny James fan. Delroy Lindo.
Walking Dead. That's where he kind of really made his name, right?
Yeah. Delroy Lindo, who I've just always been a huge fan of. William H. Macy from going back to ER and even for that. But the thing that makes this cast so amazing, and I'm good. Here's a hot take for you guys. If I'm going to hang out with some treasure hunters, I'm hanging out with these guys. These are the guys I want to go treasure hunting with. It's not Indiana Jones. It's not Laura Croft. It's Alan.
They seem like they're more fun, you know?
Well, that's the thing. You feel like, one, you're gonna just have a blast with them, but two, they really do feel like, even though there's chaos around them, they know what they're doing in the situation. They're legitimate, and it's like, yeah, these guys are gonna have my back, and it might be a little crazy, but I know I'm with them. I'm with some legitimate people here, and like I said, it's just gonna be fun.
Macy,
you're gonna have fun.
Well, Lacey, there's a good scene where William H. Macy's character Sandecker says on the phone to Dirk when they get to that phone out in the middle of nowhere after using that sail thing from the plane, and Sandecker goes, "I can't ask you to do that." He's like, "Well, one good thing is you don't have to," you know. So they all know each other; they're all buddies. So, what about you, Lacey? What are some of your favorite characters here?
Okay, I love. I think Steve Zahn is amazing. I think William H. Macy, like I said, he does steal all the scenes he's in. I want to say that the scene where you actually it's right on screen right now, the top right hand with William H. Macy and Delroy Lindo, they have a really good rapport where you can tell they've worked together for like 30 years.
There's a backstory there that I would like to hear more about. He's like, because like, Delroy's character is like Carl. He's like, I can't help you. And then Macy pauses from it saying, 1981 or something like that.
82,
like,
somewhere in 1982. And he's
right.
Like,
and then with when it comes to Lenny James, I mean, let's face it, he's I've followed him. I mean, pre Walking Dead, he was in one of my favorite shows, Jericho. Yeah. Which was sadly ended before its time. But it's fun. And Rainn Wilson, he doesn't have a huge part in this. And I kept thinking, wow, they're really underusing Rainn Wilson. And then I realized it was in 2005 when I was listening to the commentary, and on both commentaries, both Matthew McConaughey and Breck Eisner made the point of saying, this guy, he's so good. He's on this new show right now called The Office. And it's a remake of this show in England. It's like, oh gosh, this is really like old. It just took me a second. Like it took me a minute to go, oh, this is pre like everyone knowing who Rainn Wilson was.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see him in kind of like a smaller role. But he really does. He when he's on the couch and he's like, I have bad news about your boat.
Yeah.
Great. We're just like, he didn't. So funny.
I think Matthew McConaughey was perfectly cast as Dirk here. He did a great job in this. And I also thought William H. Macy as Sandecker was just perfect. The way that he played him and, how in command he is, especially with the cigars, because there's a Sandecker cigar thing that goes on as well, apparently throughout the books and stuff. And so I thought that was really cool. But I want to give a shout out to Lenny James as the evil warlord Kazim. He was really good in this, with his custom pistols and just being, in league with the other villain in this here. What's his name? Oh, forget his name. What is his name? Yves Massard. There you go. Played by Lambert Wilson. He was good. He was a sleazy guy too. So props to the bad guys on this. But
wait, yeah, Kevin, I just got to shut up. I am not a 100% huge Penelope Cruz fan, but I love her in this movie.
Well, I have thoughts about that. So let's get into the next category here, guys. You have your choice here. You have the Ocean's 11. Do you think we need one more? Who would you add to the cast? Or the Tom Selleck was Indiana Jones. Which cast member would you replace with another, and who? Now, if you look at your notes, guys, I do have the highest grossing stars of this 2005 era. Just to give you an idea, the top 10 were Keanu Reeves, Will Ferrell, Orlando Bloom, Ben Stiller, Johnny Depp, Vince Vaughn, Adam Sandler, Jim Carrey, Will Smith, and Brad Pitt. They were in the top 10 there, guys. So if you have someone you'd like to add to it, please let me know. And if you would like to replace someone in there, who would it be? I can start off. I got thoughts about this. So
go for it.
A little bit of casting trivia here. For years, the author of the novel, which the film was based on, Clive Cussler, wanted Salma Hayek to play Eve Rojas. However, the film's producers chose Penelope Cruz. I got a picture here. Hold on, of Salma Hayek back in 2005-ish. They chose Penelope Cruz for this role. The decision primarily was made for monetary reasons, as Cruz is from Spain. The film qualified for a 20.4 million in cash incentives for shooting in Europe, which would not have been possible if Hayek had been cast, as she is Mexican. So interesting little things. That's just some little trivia that I found there. Now, other thing too is William H. Macy was the only actor considered for the role of Sandecker. So that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Matthew McConaughey campaigned for years to play Dirk Pitt. Christian Bale, Tom Cruise, and Hugh Jackman were considered to star as Dirk Pitt as well, which those are names that are always, hot at certain times and stuff like that. But I like the fact that Matthew McConaughey had chosen here. But Kyle, you said you like Penelope Cruz in this. Well, I don't.
Okay.
I'm gonna say why. I like her. I think she's great. She's beautiful, but I don't think she played this character as well as I wanted someone else to play her. I think there's just certain moments where I felt that she was just kind of there. I don't know. There wasn't a lot of charisma for me, as I've seen in other actresses and stuff like that. So the two that I chose, and they're actually on the top 100 list here, and at number 80 is Kate Beckinsale, and then at number 71 is Amanda Peet. Now, you guys know how I feel about Kate Beckinsale, right? Now, the reason why I bring up Kate all the time is not because she's my movie wife, but I wanted her to be a bigger star than she is. And I felt if she made some better decisions, she could have really pushed herself. And I thought she would have been a great, I think she has more charisma, honestly, than Penelope Cruz. But also Amanda Peet. I love Amanda Peet. I think she would have been funnier, I think. And I think we needed someone with a little more humor in this role to kind of bounce off of Steve Zahn and some of the other funny stuff that was going on with Dirk's character and stuff like that. So I would have replaced Penelope Cruz personally. I'd probably shoot more towards Amanda Peet just because I find her more funny. And I think that's what we needed, more of the leading lady that I did not get from Penelope Cruz. Kyle.
Okay, so as far as Penelope Cruz, if I'm replacing Penelope Cruz, and like I said, I like Penelope Cruz in this movie. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of her all the way around. It's kind of a mixed bag with her. But since we're talking about somebody who's going to be a World Health Organization doctor, I need somebody who's going to have the smarts to go with it, but I need somebody who can have a little attitude to kind of throw back at Dirk. I'm putting Natalie Portman in that role.
Natalie Portman, interesting. Okay,
but
so, if I'm going, well, hold on. Hold on. Is she still a little young for that role there? Because the previous year she just did the Star Wars movie, Revenge of the Sith, and she's still kind of young. So
I think she can. If anybody could pull it off, I think she could.
I know she's got the smarts for it. That's for sure.
But as far as if I'm going to add somebody to the cast, this is where I have a debate, and I'm going to cheat here a little bit. If I want to have a mentor for Duke, not the Admiral, but somebody maybe Dirk trained under or something like that, I'm throwing Dennis Quaid in there, kind of be somebody who may be a mentor Dirk. But if I'm also going to give Dirk a rival, he needs a rival treasure hunter, but he needs somebody who's like a young up and comer, really, ready to just jump into anything, maybe without quite Dirk's knowledge in there, but still very talented. Give me Heath Ledger.
Yeah. That actually would have been kind of cool. I could see that. Lacey, who would you add to the cast, or who would you replace?
I have thoughts. I have thoughts on your thoughts. I feel like if you're going to replace an actress in this, you have to consider that Natalie Portman was born in Israel, so that's one thing. But with Kate Beckinsale and Amanda Peet, those are American actresses, right? So
no, Kate Beckinsale's English.
I'm sorry, white actresses. Okay. I'm sorry, my brain went to the wrong thing. Okay, so I think that keeping the cast multicultural is important, because it is a cast that is all over the world, right? So you've got, the two main male characters, Dirk and Al, they're American, but they've been sent all over the world because of military stuff, right? So you have to have, between Penelope Cruz and the doctor that she was with, and I can't remember the actor's name, and that's terrible because I was just talking about him yesterday because I watched this and I was like, he's really good. Why haven't I seen him in a lot of stuff? And then you've got Delroy Lindo, and you've got some French folks, and of course, Lenny James is English, but he's playing, North African.
Well, would their original choice of Salma Hayek work for you?
I don't think that I don't think that Penelope Cruz was a bad choice. I think that they underused her. I think that she needed more to go on. Like, I think that there needed to be more of her character, like more development of her character. I don't think that they developed the character as well as they should have, and I don't think they developed the romance as well as they should have.
That's a good point.
In order to, because at the very end you see them on the beach and that's fine and that's cute and whatever. It's so sweet. But realistically, and this is, Matthew McConaughey addresses it in the thing, but it's fine. As far as the characters themselves, adding someone, I just don't think, let's face it, if you want to talk about Matthew McConaughey as a treasure hunter who has a really good foil, that's Fool's Gold, and that comes out 15 years later, or 13 years later.
Are you talking about the movie with
Kate Hudson?
Kate Hudson, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that happens in like 2017 or something, maybe earlier than that. I don't know. I think that with the way the film works, you've got the opening with, you've got the historical stuff with the boat, you've got the historical stuff with the disease, then you've got all over the world. I think that you add new people to it. If you add anybody else to it, it just gets way too confusing.
So you would not add anyone?
Yeah, okay. I think it's good the way it is. I think that they could have bolstered a few of the characters a little bit more and developed them a little bit more, and it would have been great.
Okay, cool. All right. The next category we have here, guys, is the fast or not so furious favorite mode of transportation. We got some interesting ones for this one, guys. So the first couple that we have here, of course, is the boat. The 2005 film Sahara, the boat used by the main characters, is a Hunton Gazelle 43, which they borrow from Dirk's boss Sandecker, And then you also have the 1936 Voisin C-28. It's a replica, the car that they get, which originally was stolen from Kazim. And also we have the put together plain sail catamaran. I mean, come on, that was pretty cool. And even though we didn't see it move much, except for the prequel stuff we saw during the Civil War, is of course the ironclad boat itself. But it's pretty darn cool, especially when they find it unearthed after they blow up some sand dunes and they find it. So there's some other options as well, but I want to get your guys' thoughts. So Kyle, what is your favorite mode of transportation?
In this one, as much as I love that car, because that car is a classic, but it's the speedboat. Speedboat. That is a beautiful boat. And I love when it says, "Well, there's not any privacy on the boat." It's like she's like, "It doesn't matter." But even the lower deck of that boat is pretty well laid out. They've got enough to cook in there. There's a place to sleep. Yeah, give me that speedboat any day of the week. Yeah.
What about you, Lacey?
The sailboat / the sailplane is really fun. But you know what? I think I'd go with the camels. I think the camels would be really fun.
You like camels? You know what's funny is I told my wife when we were watching, like, I've always wanted to ride a camel. She's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I've ridden horses, but I like to ride a camel. So and they're very smart too. So yeah, all right. The next fun category we have is the Zoolander. They look so hot right now. Favorite costume or fashion moment. And I'm just going to go ahead and go at the end of the film here for my vote here with Matthew McConaughey and Penelope hanging out in Monterey in their underwear out. Well, not their underwear, but their swimwear, and have a nice little romantic moment there. They both look great in this film. Personally, Yves Mossad or whatever his name is, he dressed well. But you got to get, these two are definitely probably up at the top there. What say you, Lacey? Who has a Zoolander moment for you?
I do like the black tie from the 30 seconds of the party they were at. That was kind of
right.
Cool. But I think that for Matthew McConaughey, it's the opening shot where you see him coming out of the ocean with like the spear gun.
Oh yeah.
Talk about like entrances. That's a pretty solid entrance.
He's like buff and tan.
All I know that his abs were there. I could not tell you what his bathing suit looked like. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And as far as Steve Zahn, I love the fact that every time you see him, he's wearing like 13 layers of clothing. And you know that he's just like preparing for all. He's just his costuming. Like they must have had a blast figuring out what his costume was going to be.
I also liked his scene where he's like trying to put the head turban on. And he can't figure it out.
Well, why is yours stand on?
Yeah. Kyle, what is your favorite Zoolander moment? They look so hot right now.
Okay, so for the period of 1 year, Matthew McConaughey was the holder of the hottest looking shot coming out of the water until Daniel Craig came along as James Bond and went, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
But I mean, the costuming is great in this. I'm with Lacey. They all look so sharp in the black tie event. Penelope Cruz, every outfit she wore, she looks. Penelope Cruz always looks stunning in this. But even the bad guys got even Lenny James, who is this like villain. He's decked out. He's looking sharp for being this badass general. The costuming I think was great throughout this film, and they had fun with it too, and that was what's even better.
Yeah, good call there. I like that. Yeah, Lenny looked good. All right, the next segment we have here is the Harry met Sally scene, best scene moment between two characters. I enjoyed the scene when you got Dirk and Al escaping the truck, and they have to carry that truck bed around. They have some funny moments there, and then finding the plane and sliding down one of the sand dunes in it as well. Did you guys have a favorite Harry met Sally scene between two characters? Let's go with you, Lacey.
Oh, me. Oh, I thought. I think that the scenes with just Al and Dirk are really fun because you can see how well they work together and how they've done, because there's this shorthand between them, and neither one of them ever finishes a sentence, and it's just because they know what they're saying. And I think those are kind of, especially the scene in the when they're at the big, what is it, the wind farm or whatever it's called, and they're in the thing and they realize that it's abandoned.
Yeah.
Having that conversation, and it's like, what would you do? This. Yeah. And yep, okay. You go, let's go. And he's like, no, you find the girl, I'll get the bomb. Like it's such a good back and forth, such a good rapport. Yeah.
Good call.
They did a great.
What about you, Kyle? What's your favorite moment between two characters?
It's the one. It's the same as you. I love that moment between them, but really, it's every moment between Al and Dirk in the film, because the chemistry between those two characters is so good, and because Zahn and McConaughey play so well off of each other in this movie. It feels very natural. They have a very natural chemistry. It looks like you can tell they were having fun playing these two characters together, and that there was probably a pretty good real friendship off screen because of that between them.
You feel the McConaughey bromance.
Yeah,
that's a good way to put it. And this is, of course, Sahara, 2005, here on Couch Potato Theater, celebrating its 20th anniversary. Next, we have the best fight scene, and one of my favorite kind of fight shootout scenes is at the well, and you got Zahn, using the machine gun. Even Penelope Cruz character uses the machine gun to save one of their lives. And but the one thing I like though is when Zahn's character Al is shooting at another guy and he's hiding under the truck, and he's smart enough to shoot the tires out so the truck falls down on the guy. I thought that was a good scene. And then you got the fight scene at the end at the top of the tower there where the helicopter is. There's a lot of good fight scenes in here. Kyle, do you have a favorite?
It's from the car chase through the Ironclad. That is just it's fun, it's intense, it's just crazy and insane enough that you're like, okay, yeah, this is definitely a movie thing, but you're just having so much fun with it.
Yeah. What about you, Lacey?
I think that to go with the well, okay, the fact that Steve Zahn is just, that's where you realize how much of a badass he is. Like
he's a warrior.
He really is. I mean, and the thing is, up until that moment, he's been the quirky, funny guy, right? I mean, he's done a few things here and there, and with the boat and all that kind of stuff.
Great point.
But
yeah.
This point is where he legit is like yanking bodies out of cars, taking guns, finding his vantage point, making sure he's covered, making sure Dirk is covered, making sure he is 360 on it, ready to go. And I think that one, because it's a gunfight. It's not technically a fight, I guess, but just because he is weapons guy, right? Dirk's over in the corner, like beating the crap out of people and getting the crap beat out of him. But he is like, so like that focus that you see on his face is just, he's playing it really well.
Yeah.
I just want to throw out with that too. Usually when you have a character like Steve Zahn's character, he is the comic relief, and he's the one always having to be bailed out of trouble or something like that. The fact they made him such a badass as well as Dirk, kind of putting them almost on an equal ground in a way. Dirk is a little bit more the ladies' man.
You can tell they need each other, which is good. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that makes this movie different than any other kind of treasure hunter adventure movie is the fact they are on an almost equal ground as far as skill level and things of that nature.
Good point, guys. The next segment we have here is you took him out with what? Your favorite weapon or inanimate object used as a weapon, or as Clarence Boddicker from RoboCop would say, guns, guns, guns. And I got two nominations here that involve the same character. And first of all, you got Dirk and Al and them trying to work a 150-year-old cannon that's inside this boat from the desert, and able to shoot Kazim's helicopter out of the sky. And also, too, Kazim himself spending a little money on ammunition for his special Smith & Wesson double
27 pounds a bullet.
Yeah, I know. It's chambered in 4.55 Webley, if you're a gun person, you know what that means. But that's such a warlord thing to do. They have special guns and stuff like that. But can you guys come up with a better one than a 150-year-old cannon in a boat in the desert in Africa shooting down a new helicopter?
Other than giving the bad guy a taste of his own poison water. Yeah,
I know. That's true. That's true. That is a good one.
Yeah, I think cannonball or just beverage.
Yeah. That's a good one right there. Yeah. Well, I think that also ties into the Sean Bean Award for Best Death Scene. That's definitely the helicopter.
Oh yeah.
Possibly. We didn't get to see Yves Massard die from the water, but it was implied that was about to happen. But we got to see this. What a way to go out, you know. That was great.
Especially because he didn't know it. He thought it was dumb, and then he realized that cannonball.
Yeah, because when it crashes into
when
it crashes into the helicopter, it hadn't blown up yet because the fuse hadn't reached the explosives yet. And he's like,
so he died in a scramble trying to get to it. Which serves him right. Don't be a warlord. Bad.
All right. Yeah, exactly. As alluded to earlier, Kyle, the music, the Kenny Loggins or John Williams' best use of music or song in the movie. And we got some bangers on here, and they were done at really cool times. And I got them listed here on the video if you're watching that, but I will mention it here for the audio podcast. We have Right Place, Wrong Time, performed by Dr. John. We're an American Band, performed by Grand Funk Railroad. Never Been Any Reason, performed by Head East. Sweet Home Alabama, performed by Leonard Skinner. Magic Carpet Ride, performed by Steppenwolf. And at the end is Stay With Me, performed by Faces, written by Ronnie Wood and Rod Stewart. Kyle, you mentioned it earlier. What is your favorite music moment in this movie?
There's two. It's the opening credits with Right Place, Wrong Time. Just by going through all those old pictures, that great song really just sets the mood for the movie that you're going into. You realize this is going to have a little bit of a modern feel to it, but it's going to have just going to be something a little different. And they had a great time. But when Penelope Cruz gets on the ship and we're an American band is playing and all these guys are just doing their thing and they're bringing up that ancient sarcophagus,
I guess is what it was.
And you see Dirk coming up, hanging on to that thing, and the whole scene between Zahn and Penelope Cruz, and that's playing. That just sets that mood for what this organization is, what these people are, and you're like, yeah, these are my people. I need to hang with these people. I need to be part of this crew because it's just the energy and the music of that particular song, and it works perfectly.
Lacey, what about you? What's your favorite music moment?
You know, it's funny because this is one of the few movies where I recognize a lot of the music. I don't usually.
Yeah, you're not a good music person.
So, yeah, and so American Band, of course, Steppenwolf. I recognize Rod Stewart's voice off, just off the bat. Sweet Home Alabama. My mom went to high school with Leonard Skinner, so. Those guys have always been in our house listening. I mean, not the humans, the actual music. The music has always been in my house. But I think the fact that they paired these 6 songs so perfectly with the score and the songs from the local artists. And that was actually something they talked about on the commentaries, was that they got local music from, like tribal music and African music. And, no matter where they were in the film, they got music from those areas. And I think
like when they are kind of rescued by the other freedom fighters or whatever. Yeah. And there's that kind of local music that starts playing when you see all of the people. Yeah, that was a good call on that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kyle, I love the opening song, Right Place, Wrong Time, with, looking at all the pictures and everything. But my favorite is, and it just fits so perfectly, when they're able to when they're out in the desert, they look like they're going to die. They come across that crash plane and they make it into a desert kind of catamaran, and you got Magic Carpet Ride playing. And it just fits the feeling of that moment. It was perfect song for that scene. That one definitely is my favorite. So, okay, guys, the next segment here is the Fall Guy Award for Best Action Stunt Scene. There was a lot to choose from. I wanted to nominate the end fight scene on top of the helicopter platform at Eve's, I guess you could say, mirror field. Where he's getting ready he's trying to blow up the plant and hide all the evidence. And you can see these behind the scenes here. It's not as high as you think that it might be. But I thought that was a great scene, especially when you see McConaughey's character, hang, for his life over the edge of it. But we got a lot to choose from. What is your favorite stunt scene, Lacey, in the movie?
Just to give you information about the scene that you were picking, that scene was still shot at 30 feet off the ground. and Matthew McConaughey did all of his own stunts, and he was on a line the whole time.
Yeah.
And so that's a solid stunt. Also, when they were riding the camels, there you go, right there with the train, the photo you got next to the train, they had to do that themselves because the camels apparently camels will go very fast 3 times a day for a certain amount of time. You have to have the specific word for each camel because that's what prevents people from stealing other people's camels.
Yeah. Okay.
It's an interesting little tidbit of information.
Because they get to know their riders, right?
Right. And so they'll have a special word for that camel to know that they should run. And they have like legitimate intervals. And if you stop them in the middle, they don't start again.
Right.
They have to have, a certain amount of breaks between. It's just like camel culture or something, So the fact that they all did their own stunts and rode the camels, because that's something you have to train for. I mean,
yeah,
camels, that's not an easy saddle to hang on to going at a full gallop.
Yeah. Kyle, what about you? What's your favorite Fall Guy best action stunt scene?
As good as the camel scene is in the train, I always love a good train stunt, but it's the speedboat when he's jumping back and forth on the speedboats and everything. That whole scene is just phenomenal. And
you see Al like maneuvering the boat to protect himself and Dirk and get Dirk close enough to jump back on board and stuff. So yeah, that's a good one. Good call. All right, the next segment is the Star Wars Twin Suns favorite filming location or set piece. There was a lot of good ones to choose from. I'm just going to choose one here. I love seeing the Ironclad ship out in the desert. I just thought that was so cool, and how they accidentally found it by blowing up the dynamite to escape the helicopter and create confusion and stuff. That was great. But there's a lot of great filming locations here, guys. Kyle, give me yours.
There's a couple. Obviously, the opening scene when they're at the lighthouse when he rescues. Yeah. That's great. Monterey at the end. I mean, that is just absolutely gorgeous. But that's the thing about this movie. All the set pieces are just so outstanding. Heck, I'm fine just hanging on Sandecker's boat. I mean, that
seems like a fun crew. Yeah. Yeah. Lacey, what about you? What's your favorite set piece or filming location?
I think it's just the desert itself. I mean, some of the shots that they got were just so epic.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, the part where they find the boat, the Ironclad is actually really cool, but like
Morocco is a beautiful country.
Oh yeah. It's amazing. They filmed one town over basically from Casablanca.
Oh, nice. Very nice.
But just when you see the shots, like the long shots of just the gorgeous, deadly, but gorgeous desert is just, I think that's really cool. And I mean, if you wanted to pick an actual like physical man-made location, I'd pick the solar farm with all the mirrors. That's so cool looking.
That is cool. You see something similar actually when you're driving from LA to Las Vegas. There's this kind of solar farm action going on. I'm not sure exactly what it is they're doing over there, but it's really cool when you catch it at a certain time. Another subtle, I don't know if it was a set piece or if they actually like went inside a cave, was when Al finds the paintings of the Ironclad ship inside the cave. I thought that was kind of cool as well. So
that was on stage in London, but it was a very cool set.
Yeah, that was right. Because there's this big rock that kind of comes down from it and stuff. So,
I like how it's a little almost like glowing in a way.
Yes,
when they shine the light on it.
All right, here's a fun category here, guys. Is if you were a non-speaking extra on set, what scene would you want to be in? Mine is the party in the beginning where they're all all dressed up, and you got all the players almost in one scene, and that of course is when Dirk makes the pitch to Sandecker with the coin that he finds. Great scene there, but there's a lot to choose from. Lacey, if you were an extra on one of the sets, where would you like to be?
Goat truck, Rainn Wilson. Good stories, fun animals. Goat truck.
You want to be on the goat truck
absolutely.
With Rainn?
I'm gonna hang out with the goats and Rainn Wilson. Let him tell me. Yeah, absolutely. That'd be hilarious.
I did not expect that from you.
Absolutely, love him to death.
That is great. I love that. It's a good one. Kyle, what about you?
Either the party or Sandecker's boat when they're bringing up the
Sandecker's boat sounds like a party. I'll tell you, Kyle. Yeah. That's a good call. I like that. That's a good one. All right, here's a fun one. As an extra, you're friends with the on-set prop master. They say you can take one thing home from the set. What prop are you taking? An easy one for me is the coin, or at least maybe a bunch of those coins off of the the ironclad ship that's still out in the desert. They find a bunch of coins and gold out there. That'd be kind of fun. There's a lot to choose from. What about you, Lacey? What prop would you take home from the set?
Oh man, a goat's not a prop, is it? Dude. I gotta say, probably something from maybe the opening scene with all the pictures and stuff. Like maybe something fun from that.
Ooh, that's a good call. I like that.
There's some really cool maps on those walls, and there's some pretty cool, just
pictures,
and articles and stuff. That I feel like there's probably something in there that would have struck my fancy and accidentally ended up in my wallet.
I like that globe that they have that they zero
right
in
on
at the end, and it takes you to Lagos, which I thought was kind of cool. Kyle, what about you? What prop are you taking home?
These are all cool, but there's one very obvious one. I want the replica of the Texas that's on Dirk's desk.
Ah, yeah, that's a good one.
But there might be one that trumps all these. And Lacey, I'm kind of disappointed you didn't go with this.
Okay.
I would take any one of Steve Zahn's hats that he lost during the film.
Oh man, I lost my hat. That's funny.
Nice.
That's a good one. All right. Did anybody have any Luke or Leia cringeworthy moments or pet peeves at all?
My only pet peeve is that they did not and this was discussed in the commentary that they made a deliberate choice not to do this because they didn't want to interrupt the action with romance, like a lot of action movies do. But I think that there should have been, even adding like 3 minutes to it just to give a couple other shots, like
romance,
or cut the romance. It doesn't need a romance. It's a great movie. You don't need a romance to push the movie. She's a doctor. She doesn't need a romance to push her character, right? And so either cut the romance altogether or add enough to it to where it seems substantive enough that they're going to go and end up on a beach together, because otherwise it just doesn't feel like they were going to end up on a beach together.
Yeah. Kyle, what about you? Did you have any pet peeves or
not so much for me? A little cringeworthy though is seeing what that toxin did to people. That was a little tough to see at times. But to address Lacey's thing though, I think they actually did something very coy in this movie early on when they're getting ready to split with the doctors, and you have that little scene with McConaughey and Cruz where McConaughey is like, well, I have a friend who has a house in Montenegro who she says she's never with, and there's that little moment there, and I think that was just enough to show.
He says Monterey.
Monterey, and he's like, oh yeah, I've already talked to her about bringing a friend. So I thought that was a great little moment to have that kind of established just enough that there was some flirtation there and possibility of something. Again, I can see where you would want to expand on that a little bit, but I thought they did a very subtle job where I think a lot of people missed that the first time around when they saw that.
Yeah. Well, no, it's because she mentioned it first, and then he kind of, follows through on it, the second mention, which is fine. Because the rule of screenwriting is that if you're going to do something at the very end, you have to at least address it twice within the film. So you want to do 1, 2, and 3. 3 is the payoff. So 1 and 2 are her talking about it, then him responding to it, and then it ends up at the end. It's like saying if you show a gun in the first scene, you have to use it by the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was watching this with my wife, and I asked her if she'd seen this film, she says, "Yeah, I saw it a long time ago." And she made a comment, and I was kind of thinking about that there is something to it. And I remember feeling more about this same way years ago. She says it's all over the place. And I was trying to think about that and exactly what that means. And I guess because you're combining the treasure hunt with a warlord and then another bad guy that is poisoning the lakes and the rivers. And then, that it may end up out in the ocean and creating, as what Sandecker says, the next Chernobyl. So maybe there's something with, I don't know how much that was changed from the book. And I don't know if you remember the audiobook at all, Lacey, but I'm kind of curious to kind of check out it now. I don't know if these two plot points of that, I mean, it almost kind of feels like we're introduced to the treasure chase at first, but then it turns all into, the Kazim and Eve's, poisoning everything. And then it kind of becomes a second story. And then they just happen to come across the boat later. I almost feel if it was more about the treasure chase itself and someone else was trying to do it as well, and maybe they kind of streamline that plot a little bit more, I think it would have flowed better, and I think people would have maybe enjoyed the movie more. We're a little more forgiving, and we kind of enjoy all the parts of it. What do you think, Lacey? Am I onto something there? Or am I crazy?
No, you're not wrong. The reason a lot of people choose maybe James Patterson or Elizabeth over Cussler, a lot of people have burnout by the time they get through the first 150, 200, maybe 250 pages, because the first 150 pages is something that happened forever ago, right? Like whatever it is, that because he's a treasure hunter, so he's obviously hunting treasures that are old, right? So the first 150 pages of every one of Clive Cussler's books is some like random thing. This one is Civil War. There's another one that, all these different things that are like forever ago. And then there's always a little bitty, like 30 or 40 pages of something else random that's going to tie in. And the whole goal is, if you are a Clive Cussler fan, you want to see how A and B tie together, and C is the treasure hunting plot, right?
Right.
So a lot of people that I know struggle with reading Clive Cussler.
Okay.
And that's why I did the audiobook instead, because the number of people who were like, "Oh my God, I got through like the first 100 pages," and I was like, "Good Lord, when's the book gonna start?"
Do you remember these two plot points in the film? Yeah. Or okay?
I remember. Well, no, I don't remember. Okay, I know it was there. But I definitely remember the first like, I don't know. I listened to it on CD. It might have even been cassette. It's been so long. I remember like the first. It was cassette, because I remember the first, two sides, at least an hour of it was Civil War.
Okay, so they had the Civil War part. Obviously, it was probably extended.
And the part with the boat, I mean, with the airplane, that was in it, but I don't think it was as, like I said, it wasn't as much. So it was like 150 pages of Civil War, then like 30 pages of the plane and the medicines and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Kyle, what say you about that? I think there is a pacing issue with this film when it comes to with the different plot points here.
Here's the thing. I do think they're trying to do a little too much, but in my watch, just getting ready for this podcast, watching that, because I did think about that. That was one of the things I was kind of had on my side of my brain. The thing is that I think this movie does a fairly good job of realistically tying how these things could all be interconnected. Okay, so the Ironclad is in this country with this warlord situation, and you've got this plague that's being caused by, because this warlord and this businessman are dumping toxic waste into the river, which just happens to be what connects to getting the Ironclad to where it was. So right. I think the movie, even if it's not quite how it was in Cussler's book, really does a great job of connecting all that. Where I think they overplayed it was they made the stakes almost too high by all of a sudden they're trying to prevent a globally Chernobyl type situation. If we right. maintain to that local area, like solving that problem, I think it doesn't feel as pasting and overwhelming. But all of a sudden now you're preventing an event on a global scale, and that just, I think it raises the stakes too unrealistically high for the film.
Good call. Yeah. All right, guys. The next thing I want to bring up is the new. It's a kind of a newer category here. The Vanilla Ice Cool as Ice 1991 award to the most dated thing or person in this movie. Which interesting. Rewatching this, guys, I feel like if this movie came out this year, it would fit. I mean, with the lack of cell phones, maybe, but they're in Africa, which is and they're dealing with warlord. I mean, I feel like some of these warlords are looking the same as they do now. You have the what is it? The mirror field or whatever it is that looked kind of James Bondy futuristic as well. I didn't see anything that really dates this film. Did I miss something, Kyle?
The only thing I would say about this film, because you're dealing with treasure hunters and stuff like that, the computers in this film would be outdated now.
Okay, yeah.
You'd see a lot more laptops.
It's true, yeah. Lacey, what about you?
The corpse of Abraham Lincoln. I don't know.
Well, yeah,
No,
but that wasn't in the movie, though.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. I think. I mean, unless you want to count like the Ironclad, that's pretty dated. But since it's about treasure hunting, I think that everything on because nautical stuff. A lot of people don't know nautical stuff. So anything that they're looking on that boat that's from 2005, that looks the same as it does now, or to the average viewer.
Right.
So yeah, I think maybe the computers. Maybe, but they really didn't use a whole lot of computers. The only person on the computer really was Rainn Wilson, and maybe I think William H. Macy wrote like an email.
Yeah.
But they didn't, I don't think they really showed, other than like that PowerPoint presentation with the stuffed shirt guy. I think they didn't really show much technology in the first place.
I felt like it could have come out recently. It's I thought the effects were done well, and practical effects as well, and that was done pretty good. Okay, here's the next category. Here is the Titanic I'm King of the World career moment. Was an actor in this movie at the top of their career, or was anything else from this movie trending, newsworthy, tabloid popular? When this movie was released in 2005, I feel like the easy answer here is probably McConaughey, and I know that Penelope is on the rise as well. Steve Zahn. What?
Rainn Wilson.
Yeah, Rainn Wilson was on there. He hadn't quite hit yet with The Office was going. But so I don't know if I would put him there. I would give it a few years later when he comes out, like the movie The Rocker and stuff like that I feel like he's really like one of the best leads of that TV series. Mm-hmm. I did want to say though, the guy that really kind of pissed away his I'm King of the World moment, because he sounds like a dick, is Clive Cussler himself. If he would just would have went with it, didn't try to sue anything, and maybe tried to get another one of his films made, I really felt that this could have been it. I mean, obviously he's been a successful in his own right, but when it comes to the ties of the movies and stuff, I felt like he kind of stepped on some stuff there. So I don't know, Kyle, what do you think? Is there anything other than the obvious? I don't think there's
anybody who has a King of the World moment. It could have been McConaughey if this movie goes a little different, because it's the start of a massive franchise for him. I think it's Cussler who ruined it for himself. And I think the sad part of this is that even if this movie hadn't taken off, if Cussler hadn't been the way he was, we could be looking at Amazon or Netflix or saying, okay, we're going to bring you in, because this could easily be like what Reacher is now. You could have taken these books and made them 8 to 10 episode streaming series with each one being its own book and done phenomenal with them.
Yeah. Lacey, any other thoughts on other than Rainn Wilson possibly getting a King of the World moment? Anything else that stands out at you?
I mean, I feel like this might have been Eisner's King of the World moment, because he hasn't really done a whole lot since. I mean, he did Sound of Thunder, he did Witch Hunters, a couple other things, like small stuff, but I don't think he really has hit it big with another like tentpole film.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah. Kyle, you kind of had a hot take earlier. I just want to say, so we've always been looking for the next Indiana Jones. Tomb Raider all kind of did something there a little bit. We had our Tomb Raider reboot with Alicia Vikander later on. Still waiting for that sequel. 2005, this comes out. I believe it was 2004. We had the fourth Indiana Jones movie come out. That, the Crystal Skull. Not a lot of people. A lot of people were split on that. I felt that if they had gotten this movie right, and maybe with a little more clever editing, I felt like we would have had our next, Indiana Jones adventure franchise. And, you touched on it, Kyle, that this could have been really, I mean, it's not, he's already an A-list actor, but I felt like we don't have a franchise with Matthew McConaughey, and I felt like he really deserved one, Kyle.
So here, I said this earlier on, but if this movie hits, this is the modern version of Indiana Jones everybody wants. Set in modern times, going after more recent things, not set in the era of Nazis, but in our modern world. Matthew McConaughey could have carried this. He wanted to. He was very invested into this. Clive Cussler just works with everybody. and a few other things happen, this movie takes off. And it's such a sliding doors moment, because if this franchise takes off, Matthew McConaughey's career arc changes drastically. And who knows what happens as far as some of his later projects. Do we get those, or is he so wrapped up in this franchise now that he can't do some of those other things that he's gotten critical acclaim for? Maybe he doesn't do Interstellar. Maybe he doesn't do some of the other stuff that he's done, including things that led to him winning Oscars. But the thing with this is that I think so many people got negative on this so quickly, between the stories of it, the Clive Cussler people being pissed that it didn't follow the book as much, all the legal crap with it. This should have been a hit franchise. And the sad part is they could still do it, and Cussler will never let them, because nobody wants to work with the man after this.
Yeah. What about you, Lacey? Do you have a hot take on this? What do you think?
I don't know about hot take, but I think that this did offer up just the idea that we need a few other options on this level. Because we had, obviously you've got all the Indiana Jones, right? Then you had a little bit of Romance in the Stone kind of treasure hunty kind of thing, and that could have ended up being something, but it ended up going romance instead. National Treasure was the year before, and I think they could have moved on with that, but that's all like American, right? I think they've got now, there was kind of a gap for several years. Now they've got Uncharted, which is going to be, I think he signed a three picture deal. Wahlberg and Tom Holland. I think it was a 3-picture deal. We may be getting more Uncharted coming up, which is going to be similar. I mean, it's not necessarily treasure hunting, but it's puzzles and treasure hunting kind of.
Kyle?
So that's cool.
I just want to throw this out there. If you were to do Sahara now, or another Dirk story, let's throw Austin Butler into the mix.
Oh, yeah.
As the new Dirk, and see what happens.
What do you think, Lacey?
I can see Austin Butler. I can see what's his name? The guy who played Adam in the Atom Man in Shazam. I mean, not Shazam, Black Adam.
Oh, The Rock?
No. I'm sorry.
The guy from Chuck?
Zachary Levi?
That's Zachary Levi. No, I'm so sorry. He's a younger guy. He played the guy who like grew and then he could fall asleep.
Oh, I know who you're talking. He's the guy who played Adam Smasher in.
Yes, Adam Smasher. Thank you.
Black Adam.
His name is Noah something, or I don't know. He's got a spy show now on
Noah Centineo.
Centineo. Yeah. Also, the kid from We're the Millers, who is all like buff now.
Will Poulter.
Love him. He's awesome. Like, he's done some amazing stuff recently.
I just saw him in
Warfare.
Warfare.
Okay.
Yeah, he was good in that. So yeah.
Right on.
Okay, guys, here's the big question as we start to wrap things up here is what happens next day, or what if? Is a remake, reboot, sequel, or prequel couch potato theater worthy? What happens next? Well, I did a little bit of a deep dive in here. There's about 27 Clive Cussler, Dirk adventures here.
Yeah.
And I decided to, because the only one that I'm familiar with that's not Sahara, because I actually listened to it, was Valhalla Rising. And I thought that was a cool adventure. But I asked the old Google AI of what, and the question I put out there was, what Dirk Pitt novel should have been the Sahara sequel? And the AI overview says, while there's no single definitive answer, many consider The Black Wind or The Mediterranean Caper to be good sequels to Sahara. These books continue the themes and adventure elements of the original, introducing new challenges and exotic locations for Dirk Pitt. Here's why those two stand out. Black Wind. This novel picks up right where Sahara leaves off, with Dirk Pitt investigating a series of mysterious events in the Black Sea. It continues the theme of uncovering hidden histories and confronting international intrigue, which is a hallmark of the Sahara plot. And The Mediterranean Caper While Mediterranean Caper is technically Dirk Pitt's second novel, it shares many similarities with Sahara in terms of setting, plot elements, and the character's development. It features a similar mix of adventure, historical intrigue, and international conflict, making it a stronger contender for a Sahara sequel. Ultimately, the best sequel depends on individual preferences, but these two stand out as strong choices that carry on the spirit of the original Sahara adventure. Thank you, AI Overview. So what are your thoughts on that, Lacey?
On that, I'm glad that AI has an opinion. Okay. I think that the first film was in the desert involving a boat, which is technically a watercraft. I think that you're going to want to, like, for the sequel, if there is a sequel made, they're going to want to switch it up a little bit. I think the Arctic drift, that puts them in like snow as opposed to desert and water. I think that that's what they would have chosen. Something like that, or potentially Inca Gold, which is going to be, it's going to be jungle.
Gotcha. What about you, Kyle? What do you think?
I think you got to do something that really focuses on Dirk's love of diving. They don't really get a whole lot of that in this, except for in the very beginning. Maybe Atlantis Found, Raise the Titanic. Something to do with that, because I think they talk about it so much in Sahara. I think you need to put a focus on that, about his skills as a diver, and he talks about how, like, everything that's ever happened to him best has been in the water.
That's a great point, Kyle, because the only other Dirk Pitt novel that, well, I've listened to anyway, is Valhalla Rising, and the plot for that one is a luxury cruise ship, the Emerald Dolphin, catches fire and sinks on its maiden voyage. Numa's Dirk Pitt investigates, uncovering a mysterious lost technology that powers the ship. He later is tasked by maritime insurers to find the cause of the fire, leading him to a possible plot by an oil tycoon who wants to prevent this new technology from undermining the oil industry. The story also involves Viking relics, a Confederate submarine, and a potentially lost ship powered by seawater. So there you go. There's a lot of similarities there. But Valhalla Rising, not bad. I actually enjoyed it. So there you go. All right, guys, let's get your final thoughts on Sahara 2005. Kyle, let's start with you, buddy.
To me, Sahara is another film that is a true definition of a couch potato theater film. This is a film I can catch anytime on cable and just pick it up from right where it goes. Again, and I reiterate this is one of those movies you just got to throw certain things out the window and just enjoy it for what it is, which is a fun movie with a phenomenal cast, phenomenal chemistry. Yes, there's some stretches you have to make, but just enjoy the ride here, people. This is Matthew McConaughey and Steve Zahn at some of their finest fun filming moments. Penelope Cruz is beautiful. William H. Macy is amazing in this. Rainn Wilson is great. You've got great villains. You've got a fun story. Throw out a little bit of the ridiculousness, ride with it for what it is, and just enjoy the hell out of this movie, because that's what this is here for. And I think way too many people tried to take this movie way too seriously when it initially came out.
Good call, Kyle. Lacey, final thoughts on Sahara.
I enjoyed it. It was very fun. It's a great ride. I love the casting. I love everything. I loved all the, everything from wardrobe to locations and everything else. I think it would have been reasonable to show at least one of them putting on some sunscreen at one point in time or another, because they're in the water and they're in the desert. And
I don't think McConaughey needs sunscreen.
They're wearing sleeveless shirts, and they're this is a cancer situation. This is a skin cancer problem waiting to happen.
I think McConaughey was born tan, so I don't know if that. I think he repels suntan lotion, but
right.
Yeah.
But no, the movie's great. It's fun. It's got all the things. It's got all the things you want.
You guys have nailed it, basically. And I think McConaughey is absolutely wonderful as the character. He really embodies it. He really does. Rounded out by a fantastic cast. I think I agree with you, Kyle. This is Steve Zahn's my favorite role that he's ever done. I've seen him in a lot of stuff, and he's just so damn. He's badass, as you say, Lacey. Love him in this. So yeah. Yeah, as you said, it's just a fun adventure film. It's a modern day Indiana Jones with some modern day feel to it. And it's just, I thought it was done really well. And one of my favorite things that I love about films like this is the exotic locations. Morocco was a great location to serve as Africa. And, and it had some great set pieces too, which I always enjoy as well. And, I think it's a really underrated film. And I think people should give it a chance if they haven't revisited it in a while and kind of look at it through a different lens. So there you go. Yeah, Lacey.
Absolutely. If you get a chance, watch Happy Texas. This will, don't get me wrong, this is a good second option for Steve Zahn. But until you have seen him in Happy Texas, reserve your opinions on best Steve Zahn movie.
Okay, I will. And I'm going to take your advice and my wife's advice is to watch Happy Texas.
Yeah. I feel like the second you watch it, it's going to turn into something like there will be a podcast on it. You will find.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and wrap things up. This is Couch Potato Theater. We are celebrating the 20th anniversary of Sahara here on the Fandom Podcast Network. If you're watching YouTube, please support us there. Subscribe. Hit the QR code there. We appreciate that. We are also on Blue Sky as well as X, Instagram, of course, Facebook, and fpnet.podbean.com is our direct link to all the audio podcasts. Lacey, how can we find you?
I am now currently 100% on Discord and Letterboxd and on here because it's just, y'all, the social media is just a lot right now. It's just like I used to do Blue Sky and then all of a sudden it was just like the other opinions and it's a lot. So I am doing no politics. I'm just on the fun ones. So find me on Letterboxd or hit me up on Discord or find me here. Yay.
Awesome. Okay. Kyle, how can we find you, sir?
You can find me, of course, all over the Fandom Podcast Network pages on Facebook, including all of our amazing different group pages there. You can find me on Blue Sky at AKyleW. You can find me on X at AKyleW. And you can find me on Instagram and Threads at AKyleFandom.
My name is Kevin. You can find me on X, Instagram, Threads, Discord, Letterboxd at Spartan_Phoenix. You can also find me at Blue Sky on Spartan Phoenix. Lacey, Kyle, thank you guys so much for taking this adventure. Kyle?
Yeah, I got to go see a man about a coin. Can you get the check, Kevin?
That's all right. I got it. Go ahead. Lacey, as always, thank you guys. This was a fun adventure discussing Sahara here on the Fandom Podcast Network. All right, guys, until next time, we will see you on the couch. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.